Hi, and this is Mike Garner from MrMikeGarner.com, and I want you just to listen for a moment. Can you hear that? Tune in to the sounds of nature, crickets, birds, doves, children playing. That's Thai children playing, singing. Nature, where mankind leaves it alone, is uncontaminated. Can you hear the children? Uncontaminated. Thailand, to a large extent, my experience has been, is a vast country. You can probably put Britain into it 5, 6, 7 times. If I'm wrong about that, I'm sure you'll let me know, but it's huge. I land in Bangkok, I can go on an hour-and-a-half flight, 2 hours one direction, an hour-and-a-half flight, 2 hours another direction. Takes you in a car maybe 15-20 hours to get from east to west. It's huge. Bangkok itself is like 4 cities that have joined together. But then in between these populated areas, there's lots nature. There's lots of uncontaminated nature. Jungle. There's elephants, tigers, wildcats. Probably around me now there's all sorts of insects and birds and lizards, and it's a very normal, balanced place to live, and I live a lot of it in silence, listening to my own thoughts, which is very therapeutic, which is another subject, but also absorbing the vibration of nature, observing nature, witnessing it, and noticing the effect of nature and how people local within the villages where I live, in a rural area, it is almost like going back in time in a lot of respects, how they blend with nature, live with nature, understand nature, and how it affects their nature. They are uncontaminated, not programmed. They don't watch television, a lot of them haven't got television. They listen to music, but a lot of it is traditional music, chanting from the monks, dance music that's been handed down, father, son, mother, daughter, for generations. Nothing's changed. It's called Morlam, which is traditional Chinese music. And of course there's Thai pop music on the local radio channels, which has got Western influence, but there's still that cultural background drone, like a shamanic beat. It's beautiful. Only when we are connected to nature and uncontaminated by our programming and conditioning are we limited. These children playing are fearless. I see things that make me cringe at times. It's a health and safety nightmare, but nobody's checking them. As a child, I used to play in the dirt. I used to go out and play in the street without warnings. There was no pre-warnings on cups telling me to be careful, this is hot. When it was a hot drink, it's obvious. Nobody was offended like they are now. You could say anything. It wasn't particularly PC, and there was a lot of things that were incorrect about my upbringing in the 60s and 70s. But that aside, I was allowed to grow up. I was allowed to be a child. I wasn't told about all the things that I had to be careful about. I learned by falling off things, and playgrounds were unsafe areas, but I didn't come to a lot of harm. these children are allowed to play. They're not having a virtual experience, which is no experience. They're not online. Quite a lot of Thai teenagers go online these days, and there's YouTube and Facebook and all the rest of it. But it's still, when I look at what they're posting, it's still very Thai traditional, very natural, quite innocent really. That innocence, that uncontaminated purity, I find beautiful. And there's power there. They have a cultural identity, they have a morality, and it's something which defines them. And it's something that I'm learning really is where we've gone wrong in the West. When I return to the West, I'll be bringing back living and sharing this strength of being natural, being honest, not trying to conform, not trying to be cool because it's not cool, not trying to be clever because it's not clever, not competing. We're in a rat race in the West. And what are we racing towards? If we speed up our life, we're just getting towards an early death or an accelerated death. These children are living in the moment. They're just being children, and they're being allowed to be children. They're not watching things to turn them into mini adults. And adults here, the parents are parents. They're not trying to be their kids' friends, which, I'll be honest with you, I did as a single dad. And there was nothing wrong with that. And my kids are wonderful, but ultimately, I see so many parents, for the right reasons, out of love, befriending the kids. And then their ability to discipline the kids because there's no separation of maturity. The kids are growing up too soon, and adults are kids for longer. That there's men trying to be women, that there's women trying to be men. I'm not talking about the LGBT stuff. I'm just talking about society, really. How everything is confused. There's nothing confused here. And here there's transgender. And there's no judgment either with that. So there's no judgment with anything that I'm saying. And in Buddhism, they encourage non-judgment, the freedom to just be, acceptance, non-aggression, passive relaxation, peaceful thinking, non-confrontation. And I think that's really refreshing. So for me, I've learned so much being here and witnessing this. How has your past contaminated you? How is your food contaminating you? Which is another thing here. Everybody eats here off the land. They grow it, they eat it. It's raw, it's fresh, it's natural, it's not over-processed. We have an over-processed consumer society in the West. And we soundbite things that we think we want, which we don't want. And here, people struggle to have what they need, never mind what they want. People live very simply, which we don't. We complicate the hell out of everything, and we have so much, and it doesn't necessarily give us that much more. So at the moment now, you'll probably hear a motorbike. That's somebody coming home from the fields. Yes, it is. And just in the time that I've been online now, you can see it's going dark here. It goes dark here very, very quickly. Got solar lights on my property and also electric lights. And about an hour and a half ago, I paid my water bill, which comes from a reservoir catching rainwater, and it was £10. And my electricity bill is about £8. And fuel here is about 27 pence a litre. It's unbelievably cheap, and that's because of the economy here. Now, you can't compare Western economies with the economy here, because a lot of people consider this to be a third world country. I don't. Whether it is in economic ways or not, I think the society is far more evolved, even though it's 500 years old in terms of going back 500 years ago in the way that they behave. And I think when you look at a lot of indigenous populations, that's exactly what you've got. That Thailand is in no hurry to change. The city in Bangkok is technologically possibly far more advanced than we have in the West. I've got 5G fibre here. And we won't go into a discussion about the benefits of 5G. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about that, and there's also a lot of truth about it. But I've got 5G here, which connects me and enables me to talk to you guys like this, and upload it very quickly, and download things very quickly. But technology here and possessions don't contaminate people. They're not hung up with getting the biggest telly, the biggest car, the fastest downloads. Nobody's trying to impress anybody here. I went to a charity night about 3 days ago, and a guy who was a builder donated 2 million baht, which is about £60,000, to the local school. I've met this guy, and you know, he's walking around in flip-flops. And he lives very humbly, which I think is incredibly a good way to be. And he made the donation quite anonymously, and they made a big fuss about it, the school receiving it. But he didn't do it to raise his status. He did it because he knows that to give you get. It's the law of reciprocity, and that's an uncontaminated way to live. Because we're contaminated by status and things, and class system. And here there's a level playing field, and it's brought down because people here have a common unity in king, country, and Buddha. It binds them, their religion. It unites them. Everybody here goes to temple. And it doesn't matter if you're the managing director of a company or if you're the cleaner. You give them respect. Nobody is contaminated by status and the false illusion of grandeur. Because at the end of the day, we all come in with nothing and we all go out with nothing. And here, if you have something, you share it. People here are very unselfish. To a lot of extent, people think that me, with what I've got here, this house and that guest house, and 5 acres of land and a pool and everything, which is something I'm very proud of. But here they wouldn't even have that opinion. They wouldn't be as proud as I am, and that's my weakness, really. Here they share everything. The people I've met here who've got possessions share it, and I've had to learn. It's been difficult to let go of my need to control when people come onto my property. They just walk into the house, use the kitchen, use whatever's there, because that's what they do here. They take the shoes off and they come, and quite often they'll start cleaning. They're uncontaminated by people telling them what they can do and what they can't do. They have that freedom, which I feel is something, as I say, that I'm learning here. I don't find it easy to let go. I've lived my life by control. So you might call me a control freak, a positive one, but nevertheless, here I've learned to let go. There's a wonderful expression, which is let go, let God. Go with the flow, which I'm learning to do. And when you let go, let God and go with the flow, you release all your contamination, you lift the lid off your potentiality, and you radiate love and kindness, and you're able to receive it, absorb it as well. So it's going dark now. Children are still playing. There's no fear here. Fear, F-E-A-R, false expectations appearing real. Contamination of conditioning from people telling you, don't do this, this might happen, this will happen. Do what you want, be your own best expert. Remove all past conditioning and past limitation. Release the brakes. Do everything with good intention. Expect the best. Have a positive outlook. And be natural. Be yourself. Do what's right for you and what helps other people as well. Keep checking back. I've got loads more stories, whether you want to listen to them or not. I'm learning and I'm just here to share it. God bless.